뼈가 발려져야 돼요. 뼈가 쑥 나와야지. 예. 그래야지 다 익었지. 그냥 뼈가 마디에 붙어서 잘 안 빠진다 이러면 네, 살이 부드럽지가 않아요. 고추도 옆에다가 이렇게. 고향은 여기서 조금 떨어진 단양군 매포면 고양리 현대시멘트 있는 데예요. 현대시멘트가 들어오면서 저희가 그 동네 못 살고 온 거예요. 제천으로. 부모님들은 농사하셨어요. 저희는 아주 대농이었어요. 상일군, 중일군, 애들 일군 이렇게 일군이 몇씩 있어서 큰 농사를 하고 살았어요. 환기 많이 해서 이렇게 둥구리를 크게 해놓고 그 환기 팔아서 테레비 사준다고 그러고 그러셨어요. 그전에. 네, 환기 많이 했습니다. 제가 한 50 돼서 배워야 되겠다라는 생각을 가지고 배우다 보니 저를 지도했던 그 교수님이 간판을 하나 걸으라고 이렇게 자그마하게 아주 초라한 간판을 향토음식개발연구원 걸고 부엌을 만들어서 거기서부터 이제 계속 제가 요리 학원을 하면서 네, 바쁘게 살았죠. 13년도에 명인 받았습니다. 지금 생각해 보면 정말 엄마가 음식을 잘하셨던 것 같아요. 앞으로 꼭 하고 싶은 거는 제가 어려서 먹어봤던 음식 명 그대로. 네. 또 우리 어머니가 해줬던 음식 네, 하는 방법 이제 그대로 이거를 저희가 글로 꼭 남기고 싶어서 시적인 감각으로 네, 조금 음식도 조금 표현을 하면서 이렇게 하려고 올 연초에 조금 시도를 하다가 요즘 식어서 잠잠하고 있습니다. 저희가 약초 시장에서 구입하고요. 재료는 그냥 그대로고요. 닭은 집에서 기르던 닭하고 요즘 닭하고가 이제 조금 또 맛이 다를 거고요. 글쎄 끓이는 거겠죠. 너무 오래 끓여서 저게 푹 물러도 살이 맛이 없고요. 또 물 잡는 것도 그래요. 옛날에는 우리 엄마는 막 물을 많이 잡아가지고 이렇게 식구가 워낙에 많으니까 그래도 맛있던 것 같았어요. 근데 요즘은 이제 집에서 끓여보면 물을 너무 많이 잡아도 그렇고 그냥 적당히 잡아서 그래. 저가 이제 음식하는 사람으로서 제일 이제 안타까운 게 그거예요. 제천에 환기백숙 해가지고 제천에 오면은 꼭 환기백숙을 와서 먹어볼 수 있는 환기백숙을 우리 개발하면 할 수 있는 거잖아요. 누가 개인의 제 제품을 행정에서 좀 그렇게 만들어줘야지 돼요. 이 개인이 자기 개인의 것 가지고는 너무 힘들어요. 환기에 대한 효능, 이건 어떻게 먹으면 좋고, 어떻게 해서 좋고, 뭐 이런 거를 자꾸 홍보하면서 이게 자리를 잡도록 좀 해줘야지 되지 않을까, 그런 생각이 참 제일 커요. 제천 가면 다른 데서 먹어보는 환기백숙과는 다르다는 상품을 만들어 가면 되는 거라고 저는 생각하고 있어요. 환기백숙은 건강이 게 제일 첫째에 꼽는 음식이라고 네, 볼 수 있어요. 계절에 따라서도 여름에 땀을 많이 흘리고 몸이 허약해졌을 때 먹는 환기백숙. 네, 그렇게 저희가 인식을 하고 있기 때문에 네, 첫째 사람의 건강하고 제일 중요하지 않나 이렇게 봅니다.
How to survive in Korea. Barbecue restaurants. Step 1. Taking care of your clothes. Put your jacket in the plastic bag. Seal it tight. If the stool flips open, store your clothes inside. Wearing light colors, grab an apron. It's the best defense against oil splatter and smoke. Step 2. Bottomless side dishes. Basic side dishes at a barbecue restaurant. Eat, and eat as much as you want. Side dishes come with free refills. Oh, and if you don't see this sign, just ask, 사장님, 여기 밑반찬 좀 더 주세요. Simple, isn't it? Step 3. Grilling meat. There are various kinds of samgyeopsal in Korea. Place the meat on the grill. Turn it over when golden. And again when it looks done. Again and again and again. Step 4. Sam style. You aren't taking bites of sam like a taco, are you? In Korea, we have it in one bite. A pro tip here. Add only as much as you can handle in a bite. Gotta avoid awkward situations. Step 5. Enjoy the perks. After the meal, enjoy the perks offered as a Korean restaurant. Fabric refreshers get rid of the barbecue smell, while mint candies freshen your breath. Did you survive the barbecue restaurant? Hang on. Are you here with someone you want to impress? Then let's skip the garlic. Who knows what will happen?
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. U.S. President Donald Trump says he has called off a planned attack on Iran at the request of Gulf states, as serious negotiations are now taking place. His comments come as Iran has reportedly submitted a revised peace proposal through Pakistani mediators. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi are set to meet for a summit today in Andong City, Lee's hometown. The two leaders are expected to discuss regional security cooperation, as well as the economy and social issues. Samsung Electronics and its labor union have resumed talks over pay and bonuses, raising hopes of avoiding a potentially disruptive strike at the tech giant. The second round of government-mediated negotiations that began yesterday comes after the first round collapsed last week. We begin this morning with the latest on the conflict in the Middle East. The United States has halted a planned attack on Iran, citing negotiations toward a peace agreement. The announcement comes as Tehran reportedly submitted a revised peace proposal through Pakistani mediators, while tensions remain over key nuclear issues. Our Cho Young-eun starts us off. U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Monday that he had suspended a military strike on Iran that had been scheduled for Tuesday. The decision reportedly came as serious negotiations toward a peace agreement were underway. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he had been asked to halt the strike by leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. president said the pause was considered very acceptable to the U.S. and countries in the Middle East, but stressed that there would be no nuclear weapons for Iran.
I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by...
Trump's remarks came as Tehran reportedly submitted a revised 14-point peace proposal through Pakistani mediators. A Pakistani source which has conveyed messages between the two sides since hosting the peace talks last month confirmed that Islamabad had delivered the latest proposal to Washington. Iranian state media earlier reported that Washington had failed to offer any concrete concessions to Tehran.
Therefore, from the very day after we sent our points to the American side via Pakistan, we were faced with a series of proposals from the other side which have been reviewed over the past few days. As was announced yesterday, our own views have in turn been conveyed to the American side.
The latest response came after Trump warned Sunday that the clock is ticking for Iran to accept a peace agreement, saying that there won't be anything left of them if Iranian leaders did not get moving fast. Tehran, meanwhile, says its current focus is entirely on reaching an agreement to end the war, adding that detailed discussions on nuclear issues have not yet taken place, leaving it as one of the key sticking points in the negotiations. 조영은, Arirang News.
And the U.S. Treasury Department has issued another 30-day general license allowing energy-vulnerable nations access to Russian oil and petroleum products, currently stranded on tankers after the previous waiver expired on Saturday. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the extension would provide additional flexibility, adding that Washington will work with affected countries to issue specific licenses as needed and help stabilize the crude oil market. The move would also help reroute existing oil supplies toward nations most in need and enable countries to compete with China for the previously sanctioned oil. Here in Korea, President Lee Jae-myung and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi are set to hold a summit today in the central city of Andong. Our political correspondent Moon Yeon has more on what to expect.
It will be the third time the two leaders have sat down together, and the agenda is wide-ranging. The meeting is the latest in a series of reciprocal visits the two sides have been building since they first met on the sidelines of last October's APEC summit in Gyeongju, where they agreed to pursue regular high-level diplomacy. According to presidential chief spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung, the two leaders are expected to discuss practical cooperation across the economy, social issues, and the protection of their citizens abroad, with regional security and the situation in the Middle East also on the table. The two leaders last met in January when President Lee visited Nara, Prime Minister Takaichi's home prefecture, for their second bilateral summit. President Lee said the two sides agreed to deepen cooperation on economic security, science and technology, and international norms, and to continue working-level talks on artificial intelligence and intellectual property. Perhaps most notably, the two leaders addressed a long-standing historical issue, agreeing to pursue DNA identification of the remains of forcibly mobilized Koreans and Japanese who died in the 1942 Jose coal mine flooding in Japan, which President Lee called a small but meaningful step forward. But beyond the agenda, much of the attention surrounding Tuesday's summit is on where it is being held. Andong is President Lee's hometown, and as this marks the first time the leaders of the two countries have exchanged visits to each other's hometowns, the Blue House described it as a meaningful opportunity to deepen the bond of trust between them. For Andong, long regarded as the spiritual heartland of Korean traditional culture, the summit also carries local significance, with residents drawing comparisons to Queen Elizabeth II's visit in 1999, which brought a lasting boost in tourism. Moon Yeon, Arirang News.
And for more on what to expect from the summit between President Lee Jae-myung and his Japanese counterpart Sanae Takaichi, we're joined today by Dr. Choi Eun-mi, Research Fellow at Asan Institute for Policy Studies. Dr. Choi, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me today.
So before we get into the details, a lot of attention is on where the summit's being held as it's taking place in Andong, that's President Lee's hometown, right? What message or significance does that carry?
Well, in simple term, Andong is not just a location at this time, it's a part of the message. As it knows well, the Andong is the President Lee's hometown, so it gives the meeting a personal and symbolic touch. Another important point is reciprocity. President Lee previously visited Nara, Prime Minister Takaichi's political home base. Now Prime Minister Takaichi is visiting Andong, President Lee's hometown. So this can be seen a kind of maybe the hometown to hometown diplomacy. So this sends a message that the two leaders are trying to build trust not only through formal diplomacy, but also through more personal and direct communication. And at the same time, the holding the summit outside Seoul also shows the President Lee's emphasis on the regional balance and local symbolic. So it shows the trust building, reciprocity, and a desire to give Korea-Japan relation a warmer and more stable tone.
I see. And what might be on the agenda when President Lee meets Takaichi today? What do you think will be their top priority? How do you think today's meeting will play out?
Well, at this time, also, the agenda will likely include bilateral relations, economic security, regional security, and of course, the historical issues. But I think the top priority will be how South Korea and Japan can coordinate in a more uncertain regional environment. While both countries are facing similar pressure, there is a North Korea's nuclear and missile threats and the intensifying U.S.-China rivalry and the supply chains and the growing uncertainty in U.S. foreign policy. Because of these things, Seoul and Tokyo have a strong reason to keep communication channels open. Well, but I do not think today's meeting will produce a dramatic breakthrough, but the point is to keep the relationship stable and prevent problems from escalating. So I expect the meeting to be constructive today, but cautious. The two leaders will probably try to show that Korea and Japan can coordinate where they need to, while carefully managing areas where they still disagree. As the Korean and Japan do not need to agree on everything, but they need to keep talking.
Right, like you just mentioned, South Korea and Japan face similar pressures, and today's meeting comes after U.S. President Donald Trump's recent visit to Beijing. And amid intensifying rivalry between the United States and China, analysts say Seoul and Tokyo both face pressure to balance security cooperation with Washington and economic relations with Beijing. How might the two leaders discuss bilateral cooperation and geopolitical risks here?
Well, as it well known, South Korea and Japan are both U.S. allies, but both also have deep economic ties with China. So this puts them in different positions. We are structurally exposed to U.S.-China competition. So the two leaders will likely discuss how to cooperate in this area where their interests overlap. This includes the supply chains, semiconductors, and critical minerals, batteries, energy security, and also North Korea. However, the cooperation does not mean that South Korea and Japan exactly the same position on China. Japan tends to, compared to Korea, Japan tends to see China more directly as a security challenges. South Korea also has to consider China's role on the Korean Peninsula and its strong economic ties with China. So the realistic approach is not just full alignment, it is selective cooperations. Seoul and Tokyo can work together where their interests are shared, while maintaining some rooms for diplomatic flexibility. The important point is that the Korea-Japan cooperation is becoming less optional and more necessary. The regional environment is pushing the two countries closer together, even if the domestic politics and the historical issues are still creates limits.
Right, and like you just mentioned, the critical issue that remains are, of course, historical disputes, as they have long been a thorn in bilateral relations between these two countries. So will the two sides address those issues today, and how might they use today's meeting as an opportunity to sort of help resolve these historical disputes?
Well, the historical issues will not disappear from Korea and Japan relations. They are always part of the background under the relations between two countries. Issues, such as forced labor issues, comfort women, and also the things the Yasukuni visits. Still affect public opinion and the political trust between two countries. But I do not expect today's summit to produce a major breakthrough on history. The more realistic goal is not to solve everything at once, but to manage these issues carefully. The two governments need to avoiding letting historical disputes paralyze the entire relationship. That does not mean ignoring history. In South Korea, that would be a political unrealistic. But it does not mean that keeping communication open and handling sensitive issues through dialogue rather than confrontations. So one useful approach is to separate the relations into two tracks. One track is future-oriented cooperations, security, economy, and technology, youth exchanges, and regional challenges. The other track is the careful management of unsolved historical issues. The key is not to pretend that history is over. The key is to prevent history from controlling the entire relationship. So today's meeting can be useful if it creates a political atmosphere where both sides can discuss difficult issues without immediately falling into confrontations. Then itself would be a meaningful step for two countries.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how the summit plays out today. All right, Dr. Che, thank you so much for your time and insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Samsung Electronics and its labor union have just begun further talks over pay and bonuses in a bid to avert the biggest strike in the tech giant's history. This comes amid concerns that a walkout by more than 45,000 workers set to begin on Thursday could hit Korea's economy and disrupt global supply chains. Our Park Jun-an reports.
Samsung Electronics and its union kicked off more government-mediated negotiations at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, after the two sides failed to bridge differences over performance bonuses the previous day. The union is demanding that Samsung formally guarantee a bonus pool equivalent to 15% of the company's operating profit under its overall performance incentive, or OPI system. They are also calling for the removal of the current cap that limits these bonuses to 50% of an employee's annual salary. Management, on the other hand, insists on maintaining the current calculation system, stating it cannot eliminate the bonus ceiling. Instead, the company suggested that industry-leading compensation could be provided through special incentives if Samsung secures the top spot in the market. The situation has become critical enough that Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong stepped in on Saturday, issuing a public apology and making an urgent appeal for unity. Despite the union's warnings that a walkout could last for up to 18 days, the planned full-scale strike faced a significant setback on Monday. A local court largely accepted Samsung's request for an injunction, ruling that essential staffing levels at key production facilities must be maintained at normal levels during any industrial action. With the strike deadline fast approaching, President Lee Jae-myung shared a message on social media, emphasizing that labor rights must be respected as much as business management rights. He stressed that such a balance is essential under Korea's liberal democratic order and capitalist market economy. Prime Minister Kim Min-seok also stated on Sunday that the government would consider all available measures to protect the national economy. Under current labor laws, the labor minister holds the authority to suspend a strike for up to 30 days if the walkout poses a serious threat to the economy. 박준환, Arirang News.
The United States has approved potential military sales to South Korea worth more than $4 billion, including MH-60R naval helicopters and upgrades for Apache attack helicopters. The proposed package includes 24 MH-60R helicopters, sonar, and related equipment in a deal valued at $3 billion, along with a $1.2 billion Apache upgrade program. The State Department said the deals will strengthen South Korea's defense capabilities and coordination with U.S. forces. The sales are part of the Foreign military sales program, and still require approval from the U.S. Congress before moving forward. South Korea's Culture Ministry announced Monday that it will launch a global festival joint task force with the Korea Tourism Organization to attract more foreign visitors through major local festivals. The ministry said tourism, festival, and marketing experts will work together to develop customized promotional strategies and tourism packages linked to regional events. 10 festivals have been selected as such global festivals, including the Suwon Hwaseong Cultural Festival and the Hwacheon Sancheoneo Ice Festival. The ministry said it will support cooperation between the Joint Task Force and inbound travel agencies to help turn the appeal of global festivals into increased tourism across regional areas. Over in the United States, a deadly shooting at a mosque in San Diego is being investigated as a possible hate crime after 3 men were killed Monday. Police say 2 teenage suspects were later found dead nearby as authorities continue searching for a motive behind the attack. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Police in San Diego are investigating a deadly shooting at a mosque in the Claremont area of the city after 3 men were killed and 2 teenage suspects were later found dead nearby. According to San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall, police were called to the Islamic Center of San Diego, the largest mosque in the county, at approximately 11:43 a.m. on Monday.
They observed 3 deceased bodies outside of the center, which, obviously forced them to engage in an active shooter response, immediately deploy inside of the Islamic Center and start working from room to room.
Among those killed was a mosque security guard. Authorities say the victim played a pivotal role in preventing more bloodshed. Officers responding to the scene also received reports of gunfire a few blocks away, where a landscaper was targeted but escaped without injury. Police later discovered the 2 teenage suspects dead inside a vehicle stopped in the middle of a nearby road. The suspects were believed to be 17 and 19, appeared to have died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. The Islamic Center of San Diego also houses the Al-Rashid School, which offers Arabic language and Islamic studies classes for children and adults. Television footage from the scene showed more than a dozen children being escorted out of the complex, while heavily armed officers secured the area. Investigators say the case is being treated as a hate crime, though police have not yet disclosed additional information about the suspects or what may have led to the shooting. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. An American doctor has tested positive for Ebola in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as the death toll passes 110. Health officials say the outbreak went undetected for 4 weeks because a local laboratory tested samples for the wrong Ebola strain. A large funeral gathering in April is believed to have accelerated the spread before any alarm was raised. In efforts to contain the virus, the World Health Organization is sending experts, and Congo will open 3 new treatment centers in the affected Ituri province. The U.S. has banned entry of foreign nationals who visited Congo, Uganda, or South Sudan in the past 3 weeks. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention chief said he is in, quote, panic mode due to shortage of medicine and vaccines. The cruise ship at the center of the deadly Hantavirus outbreak docked in Rotterdam on Monday, where the remaining 25 crew members disembarked and went into quarantine. The MV Hondius will be cleaned by a specialized company in a process expected to take up to a week. Dutch health authorities said none of those coming off the ship were showing symptoms, and there was no risk to the city of Rotterdam. 3 people have died in the outbreak, a Dutch couple and a German national whose remains will be cremated in the Netherlands. A jury in California ruled against Elon Musk on Monday in his lawsuit against OpenAI, finding that he waited too long to sue the company. The verdict clears a major obstacle to OpenAI's potential $1 trillion stock market debut. Musk had accused OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman of betraying the company's nonprofit mission by accepting tens of billions of dollars from Microsoft. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Musk said he plans to appeal. Swiss watchmaker Swatch was forced to close stores and put limits on queue lengths over the weekend after the launch of a collaboration with luxury brand Audemars Piguet. Sales of the Royal Pocket watch triggered brawls among shoppers in cities including Milan, New York, London, and Dubai. The watches sell for between $400 and $420, a fraction of what an Audemars Piguet normally commands, leading buyers to immediately resell them online for as much as $25,000 for a full set of 8 watches. Swatch said the chaos had affected around 20 of its 220 stores globally. The launch generated 11 billion social media views.
Many regions saw one of the hottest mid-May temperatures on record yesterday, especially in the Gyeongsangdo provinces and surrounding regions, with highs soaring to around 35 degrees Celsius. But temperatures are finally starting to ease a little today. It will still feel warm for this time of year, but most regions will be around 1 to 5 degrees Celsius lower than yesterday. More relief from the unusual heat is on the way. Rain will begin early tomorrow morning in the Chungcheongdo, Jeollado provinces and Jeju-do Island before spreading nationwide by the afternoon. The capital area might receive 30 to 80 millimeters of showers through Thursday. And as the rain moves in, temperatures will drop rapidly, falling below season norms and bringing much cooler conditions to the country. Lastly, checking on today's highs now, Seoul gets up to 27 degrees, Daegu at 31 degrees Celsius, and Gwangju at 30 degrees Celsius.
Now that's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
Good evening and welcome to the 10 o'clock edition of Arirang News. Thanks for joining us on this special day, a day in which Arirang TV first goes on the air.
Arirang TV is Korea's first.
From all of us here at Arirang, thank you for watching. Your city next to 30 years.
Wow. Oh, this is a bidding. 에너지 들어가 있어요. 우와. 맛봐도 돼요? 네. 와우. 와, 색깔이 조금 노란색이에요. 부드러워요. You see? Beautiful little octopus shape. Yes. Perfect. They're suck.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Tuesday, May 19th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Cheska.
Happy Tuesday, everyone!
Tuesday, also Moon News with us.
Happy Tuesday!
Happy Tuesday! Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're already on the second day of the work week, and for many of us, that means we're looking for something a little more interesting to keep us going. And today's topic is one that's becoming harder and harder to ignore. AI-generated art. From realistic portraits to original music and even full-length videos, artificial intelligence is now creating works that can be surprisingly convincing. So Cheska, where have you personally seen AI-generated art in real life?
Yeah, Susan, as you said, I'm actually seeing more and more of these AI-generated art, and a lot these days, especially I think in advertisement. Like I see virtual idols, music stars, a lot of even character-generated things like animations. And the one thing that I actually feel as a viewer and a consumer is, you know how they put little like comment that this is AI generated art.
Right.
They're so realistic that when I first see it, I don't even realize, and then I kind of see the comment, and this is just me personally, I feel like I've been tricked.
They're so good.
They're so good, and it kind of, as we'll discuss further in the episode, it kind of makes me think about, okay, where do we draw the line of creativity and like the real art when it looks so realistic that it even confuses like normal viewers like myself. Yeah.
Right, I see. So what about you, Manju?
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge baseball fan, so there are some many YouTubers who like review the games and like live broadcast the game. And at the end of their videos, there are always a song like really reflecting the day's game. I was like, how is this even possible? Like, are they making a song or not? And then I realized that it's based on AI music composition applications or something. So I think we're really seeing the AI very close these days in many platforms. So, you know, from tracks that capture our ever-changing daily lives and songs reflecting the specific events of our day, I think we've all started hearing about this across a wide variety of fields.
I think that's such a great example of how seamlessly AI has entered our everyday lives, and sometimes we don't even realize we're listening to something created by a machine until someone points it out. And that's why we're going to talk more about this, but first let's take a look at the screen. The rise of artificial intelligence is transforming the way people work, and few fields have felt the impact as dramatically as the arts. AI can now generate paintings, music, scripts, and even films that closely mimic human creativity. But this new technology is also raising difficult questions about ethics, copyright, and what should ultimately be recognized as art. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at the new standards being introduced in the film industry to address AI, how similar debates are unfolding across other artistic fields, and what experts have to say about whether AI-generated works should be considered true art. Just as we saw in the video, the film industry is one of the many industries that is beginning to draw clear lines around how AI can and cannot be used. And some uses are being accepted while others are being ruled out altogether. So what are the new rules the film industry is introducing for AI, Jessica?
Yeah, film industry is very interesting because right now the conversation isn't simply AI versus humans. It's more complicated than that. It's about how to have technology and creativity sort of coexist without replacing or harming the human soul at the center of it, which is kind of the important thing about film creation. And in the creative industry, conversations are already happening. For instance, at this year's Cannes Film Festival, organizations officially stated that films using AI-generated actors or chatbot-written screenplays will not be eligible for awards. However, they also clarified that AI can still be used as a technical tool like special effects or image enhancements that are difficult to achieve through live-action filming and require more engineering. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which actually oversees the Oscars, has also been moving towards stricter standards around AI involvement. So the common theme here that we're seeing isn't, they aren't banning AI altogether. It's more about where is the line for human creativity to sort of lead the creative and the AI assistant to support and follow for it to be considered quote unquote art. Yeah.
So I thought of several things when you were saying that. One, that it says a law that they think they have to stipulate that. It's not, they can't win any awards.
Yes, now we have to draw clear boundaries about like the qualifications, right? Yeah.
Right, it shows how widespread it really has become. So the focus is not on banning AI entirely, but on preserving human creativity at the heart of filmmaking. So with that in mind, we are going to ask our panelists a few quick-fire questions to see where they stand on AI-generated films.
Okay. Here we go.
We have our pals with us. So first one is, would knowing a film was made by AI affect your viewing experience? Cheska, do you want to go first? Which I think I can kind of guess what you might say.
This one is a hard yes. It would definitely. I mean, for me, art is about labor. I think I'm very old-fashioned, but it's about the time and effort that has been put in. So if I was watching something, like a movie, and I'm so immersed in it, and I'm crying, and it says AI-generated character, I'd be like, what? I would feel a little bit fooled. Yeah.
Right. I think that's why people feel betrayed by this, because it's supposed to be part of this grueling effort and like time spent on this. But so, what are your thoughts on this?
It was a tricky question, but I would say no, because technological advancement that we're experiencing these days, it's very unbelievable. It's very great. But the immersive power of art, I think, isn't really necessarily defined by the presence or the absence of technology. I think so. Whether it's masterfully setting the atmospheric tone of a storyline or like meticulously recreating the lost sounds of a bygone era, I believe these technological breakthroughs act as like compelling elements that ultimately elevate our entire cinematic experience, but like not too much of it. So I would have to go with no for this time.
I see. That's quite interesting. So one of you values that human effort behind art, while the other is more focused on the final result. So the next question, I feel like it's a bit harder in my opinion. So should AI actors be paid like human actors? Chesko, what are your thoughts on this?
This one, so I would say yes, but because it's kind of going with what Munju just said, because AI is also part of a creation. There's an effort being put into creating something, and it is an asset, so I do think you have to pay for it. The only question is how much to pay the real actor and how much to pay an AI-generated actor is still up for discussions. But yes, it should be paid.
And also for me, the question would be who exactly would be getting that check?
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it the person who made that AI?
Yes.
Is it the person who's like, making the prompts?
Right. Or who hired and is making the profit off of it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so
really
what your thoughts on this, Munju?
All right, Cheska and I are not going along with today.
I'm not surprised.
You're not surprised. Okay, so I'm Max for this question. But it's similar reason, but just in a different perspective. I think.
I like it. Bring it on.
Strictly speaking, let's say these are like characters that generated by AI, right? And so it's not actually like human individuals. So I think it is kind of unnecessary to treat them as an actual human being. If we were to pay them, we obviously cannot pay like directly to the character because there's no human being.
There's no physical form to pay.
Yeah, so we're gonna pay AI program or creator or the third party that we're already paying it. So I think it's kind of unnecessary to pay the actual or the not actual human being or the fake characters. So I think I have to go X with this question. So let's see for our next question.
Oh, okay, bring it on.
So this raises an interesting question. Then, should AI be treated as a creative tool or as a valuable asset? So the next question I have is, should then deceased actors be recreated with AI for new films?
This one is really interesting.
Especially because we have a lot of films, biopics coming out with Michael Jackson and stuff. This is an interesting question. What are your
And there are so many great actors and historical figures that people want to resurrect and see in the film. I would say yes. Yeah. I think it's a little bit, it's a tricky question.
It is,
But I think it's, who would you get the consent from, sort of? And I think you have to be really careful about, the heritage, the legacy, and kind of, would they, because we can't ask them if they want to be used commercially. So I think these are some of the questions that we have to be really careful about when we do use AI-generated.
As long as you are kind of open to it, then.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, what about you, Munju?
Okay, the consent part, I think we're not going along with it here.
Clearly.
And the merchandise part, I think it's kind of very cautious approach that we have to take. But as long as the consent from the family has been given, I think we could, and it is acceptable. Because if the late actor's distinct performance, expressions and voice are the perfect fit for the film, I think we might be able to use the technology, in fact, Korean singers, Turtle, we have been experiencing those AI voices that kind of go along perfectly with their new song, old songs. I think this could be one approach that we could use in the film industry.
I guess this could be a way to kind of also preserve their legacy.
Yeah, but you have to be very cautious.
It is. There's a lot of sensitive things going along. So even when the technology makes something possible, It's the ethical concerns that do remain. So another one is, would you pay full price to watch then an AI-generated film, Cheska?
Oh my God. Yes, because engineering, like I said, kind of like the AI actor, it is also a work put in, but I would like to be told that it is an AI-generated movie. And then maybe I can decide how much I want to pay. But this is such a difficult question because the definition of art has always been blood, sweat, and tears for me. So I don't know how much I want to, as a customer, reward the AI technology or AI engineering work at the moment, because I don't know how much effort it would be compared to actually creating something from scratch.
Right, that's the thing. I feel like people aren't aware, like I'm not aware of how much really would go into creating an AI-generated film versus actually, you know, a whole crew getting together making a film.
Yes, and that's not to downgrade or diminish the effort that these people go into creating it. But would it be same? I don't know. Yeah.
Right. What about you, Moonju? Are you still on a different page?
All right. Today it's 044. I'm on the different page. You know, I think generally, if you are willing to pay at least the same price, I guess, it's because we recognize the human effort involved in the film, right? But if you are creating this with the AI, I think human effort is less put in, and you are like getting the help from the AI. So I think if the full price we are talking here is current price that we pay for watching a movie created by a human, I think there should be a price difference because we have to appreciate the human effort here. So I think I would not pay the exactly same price. Probably a little lower price. I might watch it, try it, but yeah.
So you're willing to pay, but not as much.
Yeah, correct.
I see. All right. So to get a more in-depth perspective on this, we're going to talk to someone in the film and acting industry, and that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Anna, German filmmaker and actress based in Korea. So hello, Anna. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, everyone.
So Anna, how do you use AI personally in your creative process?
I have to admit, I use it a lot. Even like before this interview, I just sent the question to AI just to see what they will answer. But I feel I'd use it more as an assistant because once I actually tried to write a full script, a film script with AI, and it just didn't feel like me. I showed it to people, and once all the sentences that were created with AI, people just felt it wasn't like how I wanted to tell the story. So I try not to use it actually for script writing, but as an assistant, just to talk about like different ideas, because I think the creative process, one really important part is like brainstorming. But if you don't have somebody to talk with, I think AI is a really good tool. And also just to play with different visual ideas. For example, I'm writing on a sitcom right now. And for the pitch paper, I used AI to create a mock-up poster. And it looks really fun. It's exactly like the style I wanted. And it just like gives a lot of like more feeling for the pitch paper.
Anna, I also write scenarios and creative writing a lot. And I love what you said about the fact that you need this brainstorming partner to get the ideas coming in, and AI definitely can be a great assistance. So how can AI, in your opinion, help the film industry? But also, what concerns does it actually raise when it comes to using it?
I think for filmmaking, you always need like investment. So for the pitching part, for the pre-production process, I think AI is a huge help just to have the ability to convey the idea a little bit more vividly. And I do think that it helps independent creators. For example, I was also creating a short reel and used AI, and it was just so much easier and also saved a lot of money, I would say.
Yeah.
And recently, I actually saw that CJ, they created a whole feature film within 4 days. It's called The House. I haven't seen it yet, but it was filmed in front of green screens with AI. And just from looking at the trailer, it looked quite good. So I'm still open to watch it and see how much actually like budget going on locations can be saved while making movies. But for concerns, I think, of course, like copyright. I wasn't aware of that, but me asking and sending my script to ChatGPT, for example, they also save this to give ideas to other people. And now I became a little bit more cautious, not actually to share all my creative ideas. And I think that is probably the biggest concern for myself. But as you also said, in Cannes right now, people are talking a lot about AI and the new movies that are coming up. And there's actually a group of 5 German filmmakers. They released a statement. It's called Dogma 25. And they say we are against AI movies and have these rules and how to like get people back to more raw, more human, more authentic content. I think that's really interesting that with every movement, there will instantly also be a counter movement.
Yeah, I see. So our last question for you today is, you also mentioned earlier briefly like how you use AI and which part of filmmaking you do yourself. So what parts of filmmaking or acting can you think can only humans do?
I think being an actor myself, I feel that people are, you cannot tell how people react. And AI is so like trying to follow maybe an algorithm of what people know. But what makes us humans so interesting is that we're so contradictory and vulnerable. And I think that also that empathy with people, seeing when you hesitate or somebody is like being nervous, even though it's not perfect, this is something we humans can really connect to. And I think that is something, the actor's presence, the creative vision of the director, something that AI never can replace.
I think this is quite a tricky topic, but your insight was so interesting as a filmmaker and actress. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So we just heard from a filmmaker and actress about her thoughts on AI, and whether we also talked earlier about whether viewers should be willing to pay the big price, and now AI created works should be considered art in the same way as human-made creations. And this time we also want to hear directly from our viewers. So we ran a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel asking about this. So here's what the results show. So in our survey, 67% said AI should be recognized as a tool that assists human artists. Another 12% viewed AI as a co-creator that can share credit with humans, while only 9% believe AI should be recognized as a sole creator. And the remaining 12% said it does not matter how AI generated art is credited. So it is quite interesting that a clear majority see AI as a tool rather than an artist in its own right, and that suggests most people are comfortable with AI assisting the creative process, but still believe that human creators should remain at the center of artistic work. And of course, this debate is not limited to the world of film, and questions about creativity and authorship are also emerging across many different artistic fields. So what other art fields are facing similar debates over AI, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so the AI debate first exploded in 2022 when AI-generated piece won a Colorado art fair. Since then, we've seen a separate categories created for AI art and strict bans enforced in Korean literature also. So, performing arts are eagerly embracing it though. So, choreographer Wayne McGregor, created of the AI tool AI Soma, sums up this open mindset perfectly. Artists must be the creators of technology, not merely its recipients. So based on the industry, there are kind of different perspectives from this AI industry, yeah.
So while some artists are drawing clear boundaries, others are embracing AI as a new creative partner. And that naturally raises a question of what experts and industry leaders are saying. So what are experts saying about AI and it's the future of art, Cheska?
I think it's very torn, but there is definitely a common theme, which is, people are more positive about accepting AI as part of the creation. But I think Anna, our interviewer, gave us a really brilliant insight, which is now the question is more about how is AI being trained? So the thing is, all the creative work that is put in by the artist is actually being used to feed the algorithm and train the AI. So when it comes to AI generating the artwork, it is actually based on previous work created by the artist. So there's a lot of counter backlash from the artists. And in fact, in 2024, when the UK government considered expanding the access to copyrighted material to train AI, a coalition of artists, musicians, authors, they actually stood up and said, we oppose this strongly, because that would be using all the copyrighted work to train the AI. In fact, it included Paul McCartney, who opposed this proposal. So I think the debate is now more about not just the product that AI creates, but the product that goes in to train the AI.
I think you mentioned copyright, which is, that will lead to a whole different discussion. It's very interesting to talk about that as well. So who owns the copyright to art then created by AI, Moonju?
If you really create the copyright, of course, creator has the copyright. So it's very important that who is having a copyright. That's very important part. So you really have to think about it, and you have to really be sure that double check who has the copyright.
That means the technology is advancing quickly, but the legal framework is still catching up. So as we wrap up, let's hear your final thoughts on today's discussion. So what are your thoughts on art created by AI after today's discussion, Jessica?
This kind of Susan reminded me of the discussion that we had about AI and religion.
Right.
And if our viewers had seen it, we also ended the conversation by being very honest and saying it's a very tricky ground. But I think the question about art and AI is very similar in that it's not just technological, it's more philosophical and even economical. Because now it's about not only who's making the profit, but about where do we clearly draw the line of what constitutes human labor versus something that is created by technology. Because historically, art has always been about human effort, time, blood, sweat, and tears. Kind of like, I don't know if our viewers seen it, do you know the sushi dream of Zero, the chef who puts in his entire life work into creating? So I think that's the difficult conversation that we're facing right now.
Right. So what are your thoughts on this, Sanju?
If we focus on pure creativity and AI does the heavy lifting, the piece risks losing its essence. So I think if we view art as an experience, using AI simply as a tool to captivate an audience, that becomes a perfectly valid approach. So I think it depends on where we are putting our perspective as a main focus, and that's how we could set the boundaries. How will the using AI will be justified?
So ultimately, AI is no longer a distant idea in the art world, but a present reality, reshaping how creativity is defined and produced. And while opinions differ on its role, the shared challenge is finding a balance between innovation and preserving human authorship. And as this technology continues to evolve, so too will our understanding of what it truly means to create art. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of New Generation. But New Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Cheska.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
And also Moonju.
Thanks for having me today.
And to our viewers, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you'll be able to work with AI, not compete with it when it comes to music and art. We are
New Generation.
Across borders, surging forward without limits, Korea. Korean culture has moved beyond a passing trend, becoming a force that colors the world. And perhaps its origins trace much further back into our own history. The true roots where this vast chronicle began, where the essence of K-power and the spirit of our people are recorded. In the 17 seconds you casually pass by, thousands of years are breathing within. The moment your gaze lingers and your curiosity is stirred, the radiant faces of our history begin to awaken. The real stories of these artifacts, stories we never knew. It begins here, now.